to the 5th Hayley-Roxanna Crafts quick cross stitch video, where I share information, hints and tips on one area of cross stitch in a short video. In this video I am focusing on threading an eagle. So once you have separated the number of strands that you will need to thread them into an eagle in order to begin stitching. So I'm going to share some tips that will hopefully help you with that. Firstly, you need to ensure that the ends that need to be threaded through the needle are level. If you're only using one strand, this obviously isn't necessary. But if you're using 2 or more strands, or even folding one strand over to make 2 strands, it is easier to thread them if the ends are level. So I do this by holding the one end just between my thumb and forefinger, like so. And then I will take the second end and place that in, like so. And then gently just pull on it until my ends are level. Sometimes it can be hard to get it exact, but you want them as level as possible. At this point, it is also worth checking that the ends are smooth. If they're a little frayed, just snip the ends off with a sharp pair of scissors. Some people also like to dampen the ends, which can be done by pulling the thread through slightly wet fingers, or even by putting the thread in your mouth, although some people may not like to do this. Now the ends are level and I've checked they are smooth, they are ready to thread. So I just squeeze them between my thumb and forefinger, and I try and get them as low as I can so they're as close to my fingers as possible. And then you take your needle, and you want the end where the eye is, and just bring that down onto the threads, and hopefully your threads will push through, and then you can just pull them through. It's best to bring the needle down to your thread rather than bringing the thread up to your needle, as this helps gets it through the eye. And then, if you need to, you can pop a knot in the end and you'll be ready to stitch. An alternative way of threading the needle, which can be useful if your ends aren't level, which can sometimes happen as you're stitching, is the fold over method. So with this, take your needle and you just want to fold your thread over the needle like so, and then pinch it tightly between your thumb and forefinger. And then you want to pull the needle out with the eye leaving the thread last. Like so. So that just leaves like a little loop pinch between your fingers. And then you want to position the eye of the needle over the loop and push it down, and that loop will go through the eye, and then you can just, once it's poking out, give it a little pull through, and then that thread will unfold, and again you're now ready to stitch. You can also purchase needle threaders to help with threading the needle. And these are a couple of examples of needle threaders that I've got. This, what I call a loop one. Put my hand there so you can just see it's a very thin sort of metal loop at the end there. This is my favourite sort to use if I'm struggling with the other methods that I've shown. So what you do to use this is you need to pop that metal loop through the eye of your needle, like so, and then you take your thread and just pop that through the loop. It can be a little fiddly to do, like so. The beauty with that loop is you can make it slightly bigger if you're struggling to get your thread through, which you can't do with the eye of an eagle. You can't make that any bigger. So just pull the thread through like so, and then as you pull the loop, that little metal loop through your needle, it pulls the thread through with it, like so. Alternatively, there is this sort of threader, which has got sort of little hooks either end. The hook that you'd use just depends on the size of the eye of your needle. You want to use the biggest one that you can, but obviously if you're only using a small needle, you're going to need the smaller hook. But there will be a point where you may have a needle with an eye too small even for that one, which is why this is not really my preferred threader. I prefer the other one, as that fits through pretty much every needle. But with this one, you just pop the hook through the eye of the needle, like so. Pop the thread over the hook, and then as you pull the needle back over that hook, the thread will go through your needle just like it did with the other threader. I have also seen people put their thread into just a small piece of paper and then thread the paper through the eye of the needle to thread it, which can be effective, but it's not a method I tend to use, as sometimes with the paper and the thread it can end up too thick to go through the eye of the needle. But if you've got a fairly large eye, it does work. So if you have any questions about threading a needle, please pop them in the comments. And in next week's quick cross stitch video, I will show you how to find the centre of your fabric to start stitching.